After an accidental DNA swap of lip to lip, it turns out that this relationship, where the co-main protagonists that won't claim each other can't progress their relationship into the physical body heat to body heat, a clapping of sack to skin. Instead, we get a sackless golden teabag onto a couple of heroines' faces with the introduction of this oblivious pink-haired girl, Shidatori Ida, unlocking her powers by retrieving one of Ken's golden balls. This sets up the perfect plot point that is slowly climaxing into a lot of swallowing. For this video, we're going to be covering Dan Season 1, Episode 6, Yabe Onna ga Kita. The episode starts off with us learning about Ken's balls, which are wrapped around some spiritual, horny, turbo grandma energy. It glimmers gold cause it's so damn precious, and it's precisely 5 centimeters in diameter. Ken and Momo are trying to find where Okarin's golden balls may have dropped as they are outside in a park with Turbo Pussycat. A man's balls are filled with tons of life. It's the kind of life force that attracts all kinds of yokais and spirits. With something so powerful as a man's balls, you can bet your asses that these spirits want to use Ken's balls as a way to come back to life. Isn't that what the use of balls are for? To bring forward life. That is the reasoning that Turbo Pussycat Baba explains about these spirits that are always taking advantage of these poor ningen by stealing all of their life forces. With something so valuable as Ken's balls, a powerful life force, and Turbo Granny's powers wrapped around his balls, it becomes highly probable that someone will want to swipe something so golden. However, with Ken and Momo struggling to find these golden balls, for Pussycat Baba, she doesn't really care, except beat that pussy up! Pussycat Baba gets flattened into oblivion by the power of a teenage couple that violently thinking in the same wavelength. After a night's search for Ken's golden goods, Ken, Momo, and Pussycat Baba head back to the ISA household to report to Waifu ISA. Without any leads, it looks like Waifu Baba will have to go out to find some of that Tamajoho herself. Since Ken has Turbo Granny's powers, it's something that he will have to be extra careful, as Pussycat Baba is looking real shady right now. So the beginning of this episode is all about finding those golden balls. It's the very next day, and Ken and Momo are back to their teenage lives, worrying about Okarin's glimmering, shiny golden balls being up for grabs. Ken runs into some dudes that has one thing on their mind, and that is Ken's girlfriend. Except Ken ain't claiming someone that he accidentally swapped DNA with, which confuses these other teenagers. Romance is a universal language, and this tall, more masculine teenager thinks Momo is totally cute, which gets Ken to finally progress further into his coming of age. It's your typical trope of someone that's pretending like he don't like the girl that he literally swapped DNA with through the mouth. Ingrained a permanent memory of being half naked and bonded over alien ditties and grandma titties. While some of these other men who are more assertive want to insert themselves into Momo's banana, what will Ken do? Will he be the wingman to NTR himself? I guess we'll find out. It gets spicier as every teenage high school has to deal with rumors. There's always a sleuth, and that turns out to be the rumor behind Momo, that she likes to spread her legs. And so these teenagers, they want to get the scoop with Ken. Besides the lips, Ken, did you put in the tip? That is when Momo's honor and Ken's most alpha quality comes out of himself. That is this horny, turbo, super duper downer grandma powers start to surface to put the kibosh on these unfounded rumors. Ken grabs this other teenager by the throat and he says,
"Is he gonna have to choke a bitch?"
These archetypal teenage plebs get put in their place for being horny and buying into unfounded rumors. I'm sure Ken will now be thinking about Momo's cuteness and virginity from now on, as his innocence becomes more manly. After looking like Ken was going to get eaten alive by some bullies, nothing can stop the madness that is horny turbo grandma powers. Pussycat Baba comes out of nowhere to pop out her cute little head out of Ken's backpack, and Ken goes full NPC stealth mode with a stop, drop, and disappear. It looks like Waifu Baba isn't threatened by a little pussycat and lets Pussycat Baba do as she pleases, and so she pleases her way into trying to get Ken to let her inside of him. But Ken isn't that naive. As they have their little argument,
Okaren, nani shite no?
Okuren Shonen gets flustered and drops the bag and realizes Momo is.
超可愛すぎ。
Ken is feminine flustered by Ayase Baba's offspring. It's too bad he doesn't have the balls to face her with his full complement of manhood.
Look at me, Okaren. Look at me.
Momo chases down her beta future man while the pussycat gets loose. Momo is back in class with their girlfriends gossiping once again. Momo is angry about her not current but future boyfriend that she doesn't want to accept yet. It turns out her homegirl knew what happened when Ken was about to go full granny on some boys to protect Momo's honor. Momo, blushing, is slightly bothered by the fact that Okuren is avoiding her. Then it's the return of the pink goddess that is also full of herself. Unfortunately, we all know these types of girls that manipulate their booty to get what they want out of these block-headed plebs that can't get their eyes off of her. This is the case for most hot girls. They become that full of themselves. Like many girls, they don't fight with their fists, except maybe Ayase, but they fight with rumors. Ever since that moment, Momo dropped that pink-haired girl. You best believe Ayase is being hit with some mean girl action as she spreads the rumor that Ayase spreads her legs. During that event, with the clock to the noggin, it turns out that the pink-haired girl can see Momo's psychic powers and has now labeled her an Akuma. It's because of her beauty that she is the chosen one, as her hubris starts to come out even more as she pulls out the glimmering, glistening, spiritually powerful golden ball of Ken's. With this golden ball of Ken's life force, the pink-haired girl has turned herself into a main character, as she is the shoujo protagonist that will rid the world of all evil. In a rare, long-winded hook, the opening credits plays out as we get our first full of herself unintentional antagonist that will rid the world of all that
Demon.
Ayase. What I love about the beginning of this episode is that relationship progression between Ken and Momo. That has been a formula for a while now, that each episode shows a slightly different side to their relationship as it slowly builds each and every episode. Every episode just fulfills a certain angle to what we all go through when it comes to a relationship, especially one that has not actually outright is labeled one as a boyfriend and girlfriend. Ken and Momo don't fully realize it yet. It won't fully accept what their teenage hearts are telling them. So even though they aren't actually official, in our eyes as the viewer, we already accept them as boyfriend and girlfriend. So with the conclusion of the previous episode, we now have new characters that help put Ayase and Ken in different kinds of predicaments that tests their bond and slowly make them realize that they actually like each other just little by little. And in the previous episode, we get this fun payoff of this accidental kiss. So this episode, we get the payoff of Ken defending Momo's honor. As if you actually like someone, you won't go that far to want to protect them in this way. So that was a really cool moment. Now Ken is slightly less beta, but still needs his balls. And now with the pink-haired girl possessing one of Ken's golden balls, we now have ourselves a plot that will naturally build towards this love triangle. That's going to be awesome for Ken, but terrible for Momo. After the opening credits, it is revealed that one of Ken's balls gave the pink-haired girl a sackless tea bag from the heavens. It is destiny when she picks up this golden horny granny powered ball of Ken's. As it turns out, she was creepily just walking in the park in the middle of the night when Momo laid the finishing touches to Turbo Baba's crab spirit. With this golden marble, she feels this sense of explosive spiritual power showering over her head as she keeps one of Ken's balls inside her jacket. Shiratori Aida is really full of herself, but not at the same time, as she can see spirits now. She has her homegirls bring her across so that she can get ready to exorcise that demon that is Ayase Momo. Her friends are so totally over her, but they are real homies that still want to be a part of her shenanigans as a couple boys pull up to mac on her. And that is when
Skyma?
Pussycat Baba is just lurking in the shadows of the hallway. Seeing this plot unfold before her very eyes, Ayase, Ken, and Turbo Pussycat are just chilling on the roof having some lunch. But Ken still can't stop himself from blushing at the sight of a cute, violent girl. This is where the lore of how the Dan world works continue to take shape as Pussycat Baba informs him that she too was looking for Ken's precious golden balls and may have some intel on where it might be. If an oblivious pink-haired girl were to corral Ken's balls, it may unlock her spiritual powers. At the same time, it would unlock the ability for evil spirits to want to take advantage of this clueless girl. Although Turbo Pussycat doesn't know the golden ball wielder's name, she's gonna take them to this major plot point. Ida is just caressing Ken's golden ball in class as she racks her brain over how she's gonna take down this Akuma and her Skyma. As Ida mentioned before, she noticed a spiritual entity in a red dress slowly approaching her, which aligns with Pussycat Baba's warnings of a human getting a hold of Ken's golden balls, unlocking her powers. It's after class, and so it's time to go find some manhood. However, Ida Shidatori comes out of nowhere to ask for Momo to have some girl talk. Even though Momo is caught off guard and is skeptical about this one-on-one time, she goes ahead and accepts Ida's offer, while leaving Ken to go find his balls alone with Pussycat Baba. With Momo following Ida into a major plot point, the Pussycat Baba conveniently sets us up for a cliffhanger as she mentions that was her. Now, it's the setting we are all so familiar with during a big, climactic, explosive moment. It's a dirty, abandoned warehouse where Ayase Momo and Shidatori Ida meet. And that is when it's a trap! Ida's homegirls tackle this demon and zip tie her hands together as Ida jumps on her back and pulls out a holy book of exorcism and a cross. To get rid of this world's demon, it will be Ida's first triumphant, heroic deed as the golden ball wielding Bishojo. Momo has had enough of this sneak attack and uses her unseen hands and chuck these two teenagers across the warehouse, where they will be conveniently thrown outside the plot. Then Ida pulls out her super secret weapon, Ken's golden ball. To do what Ken's ball did to her, she will do to Momo, as she drops Momo a sackless teabag of one of Ken's balls. Ken runs out of nowhere as Ida keeps shoving Ken's golden ball onto her face, and Momo tells Ken that the pink-haired girl is the strange girl that they are looking for. But there's a plot twist. The red dress spiritual entity comes out of nowhere to scoop Ida up, and Ken corrects Momo that this spirit is the one that they are actually looking for. The red dress spirit comes out of nowhere to hold Ida up
Like a baby.
and it flashes back in time in a moment to show that this spirit might actually be Ida's mother. Since Momo is all zip tied up, that leaves room for only our Ken to go super duper downer as he transforms into a horny turbo grandma and rushes his way to give this evil spirit a hint of his horniness. The red dress spirit wants to protect Ida from these demons that want to take advantage of her. Just as grandma super duper downer Ken makes his move, the red dress spirit just eats him, as Momo can't fully control her unseen hands by not being able to see her own hands. Ida is still oblivious as Ken, in all of his horniness, just gets finished getting swallowed up. Pussycat Baba jumps out of nowhere to pull out Momo's friend's phone. She mentions that this entity is called the Acrobatic Silky in a slick way of how the story determined power levels. This acrobatic Silky yokai is a nobody compared to Turbo Baba. Ida still thinks of her Bishojo beauty is what is going to save the world and threatens to defeat this spiritual mommy, and then she too gets swallowed. Ayase requests the Pussycat Baba's help, but that's a totally terrible idea as Acrobatic Silky uses her hair to choke a bitch. Silky gives Momo a little spinneroonie all across this cliche-ass abandoned warehouse and slams her into the ground. If we know anything about Momo, she can certainly take a punishment. Acrobatic Silky asks that Momo call her,
Oka-san?
but the only thing that can come out of Momo's dirty mouth is
Soyaro.
which leads Momo to get swallowed alive too. This yokai is a totally out of control swallowing machine that must be stopped. Which means Acrobatic Silky versus Pussycat Turbo Baba 1v1. The ugly and slimy versus the cute and cuddly. One is a lucky cat and one not so much. As I say, burn Silky from within. As it turns out, the spirit ate some of its hair with the cross that Ida was holding, which was actually a lighter in which flame. This causes Silky to throw back up these teenagers too young to have a threesome, and that is when the episode's over. Once again, we get our first half of the episode, a slice of life, hitting an angle that character develops Ken and Momo's relationship, but with the introduction of a new plot that is about retrieving Ken's golden balls. It naturally builds this tension towards Ida being a full of herself teenager that has one of Ken's balls. The pacing at this point is quite predictable. I've said this in the previous video as well, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. The pacing is actually perfect, as it gives enough time to flesh out some of these characters and slowly build up that plot and that tension into a major climactic plot point. Even though the formula has been the same, the story has been careful with introducing different angles to Ken and Momo's relationship, and now giving Pussycat Baba an important role in the story. With Ida and Turbo Granny being introduced into the story, it certainly feels like the Dandadan world is opening up a bigger roster of unique characters that really matter. This episode does reveal a lot more about Ida's personality. It really just confirms that Ida is really full of herself. But at the same time, Ida is not really, it doesn't seem to be like a bad person, as she's pretending to be this hero as the golden ball wielder, Bishoujo. Ida really does represent those hot girls, those attractive girls that get all the attention their entire lives and get everything that they want and are so oblivious to what it's like to be like average, except a mother. Was that too harsh? So Ida just ends up being this character that represents this hot, attractive person that becomes so full of herself and doesn't realize what being a normal person is like. This also marks the first time on an adventure where Turbo Baba, as this Pussycat Baba, acts like this third wheel for Ken and Momo's adventure that eventually leads into fighting this other spiritual entity. Acrobatic Silky is clearly a character that has an actual tie to Ida, which provides Ida's major character development as she fully becomes a part of this Dandadan roster as a main supporting character. All of the previous villains didn't really have much emotional ties to the character, so they feel really forgettable, except the alien ditties. But since Acrobatic Silky has that tie to Ida, it makes this arc in this fight quite a bit more meaningful. And it sets up a different kind of reward that will likely happen at the end. So yeah guys, let me know what you guys thought about this episode of Dandadan Season 1, Episode 6. Yabe onna ga kita. And do me a favor guys, hit the like button for Ken's golden balls. And do me a favor and sub to the channel if you guys haven't already. Check out my blog at otakusen.com, and I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.